favorite memory?
Yeah. Birthday party.
Birthday party? All right. Can you quickly explain why?
Because it was a big party. For me.
Big party?
Yeah, my mom cooked for me and for my friends.
Mm-hmm. And it was delicious?
Yeah, it was
fun.
Yeah, maybe.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kazumi-san. What's your favorite memory?
Same as you.
Oh.
Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas, yeah.
From Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got the dress, all the princess. The Disney characters from when I was
Dress. Nice, great. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
your favorite memory as a child?
Birthday party.
Birthday party too?
Yeah.
All right. What present do you get? Do you remember?
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that day, my mother invited my friend. First time to invite my friend. And then my mother cooked many things, like a chicken and, do you know 탕수육?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
okay.
탕수육 and
Nice.
other things.
Sounds great, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. And let's move on to my vocabulary word. My vocabulary word is going to be metal. Metal has different meanings, many different meanings, but I want to just introduce this metal. It's called the Medal of Honor. And it's usually given to people who go to war. And if they get injured, if they get really hurt, sometimes the country will give the soldier this kind of a Medal of Honor. And it's something to say thank you from the country for, for putting your body in danger and sacrificing either, sometimes they die, sacrifice your life, or get really hurt. In the story we're going to read today, one of the words is medal, a medal of honor. You'll hear this word. And that's what it means. It means a medal which we give soldiers who go to war. Some of them never come back, but some of them do. And the government will give them a special medal. Okay. Do you have a medal?
Yes, I have.
Oh, do you have a medal of honor?
Not this one.
From being in the war?
Not this
Oh,
one.
you were in the war?
No.
Oh.
Not this one, but I have a medal.
Ah.
I don't know how to say when I belong to soccer
Yeah.
clubs,
Yeah.
and for example, when I won some competition,
Yeah.
or I won the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
I could receive medal from
Yeah.
the institution of the soccer.
Right, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a type of a medal as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, okay. Good. Yujin, what's your medal? What type of medal do you have?
Violin.
Yeah.
Viking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So you were a good writer, and you got a medal.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I'm not a good writer, but school gave me.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Jin. Okay. All right, you guys. Let's move on. Let's move on to my story. Before I read, let me give you a quick introduction. There are two main characters in this story. Number one is this little boy. His name is Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge. But that's a long name, so I'm just going to call him Will. So his name is Will. What's his name? Yeah, good. The other main character is this old lady. Her name is Miss Nancy. Miss Nancy. What's her name, Yujin?
Business.
Yeah. Good. So how many main characters? Good. Two main characters. The story, the setting of the story takes place in a nursery home. I think a nursery home, maybe you know, it's a place where older people go and they live and they get food and doctors and nurses, and they'd go on outings. It's a nice place for old people to live, called the nursery home. And finally, the summary of this story is the story is really about the relationship between this young boy and this old lady. That's what the story is about. It's about their relationship. Okay, that's my introduction. Let's move on to my story. Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge. Okay. Once upon a time, good for you. Once upon a time, there was this young boy, this very young boy, and he lived right next to a nursery home. Lily, do you remember his name? Yeah, good for you. His name is Will. Good. And he had lots of friends in the nursery home. Lots of friends. He liked to hang out with the old people. He liked to get together with the old people and hang out and tell stories and play games and play football and watch TV and share stories and secrets and gossip. Lots of gossip happens at a nursery home. You would be surprised. Let's look at some of his friends. So this lady, her name is Miss Jordan. And Miss Jordan likes to play the
Piano.
Yeah, but we'll call it an organ. Organ is like a piano. Yeah. So what does she like to play?
Organ.
Yeah, good job. Miss Jordan likes to play the organ. This guy here, his name is Mr. Husking. And Mr. Husking liked to tell stories, but he loved to tell scary stories. Wah, ha, ha, ha. Ha. He liked to tell what kind of stories?
Scary story.
Do you like scary stories? No, no scary. Let's move on to this guy here. His name is Mr. Tippett. Mr. Tippett loves the game of cricket. What does he like? Cricket. Yes. Cricket is like baseball, but it's 10,000 times more boring than baseball. I'm sorry, do you like baseball, sir? Oh, okay, good. You like soccer, yeah. Okay, good. Let's move on. This old lady, her name is Miss Mitchell. And you can tell her back is really sore. And so she needs a wooden stick to walk. Okay, and finally, this guy here, his name is Mr. Drysdale. And Mr. Drysdale has a deep, rich voice. A voice like a giant. Whoa! Voice like a?
Giant.
Good job, let's move on. But his favorite friend, his best friend at the nursery home was this little old lady. Do you remember her name? Miss
Nancy.
Good for you, Miss Nancy. Yeah, her name is Miss Nancy. Will and Miss Nancy used to get to all the time. Get together all the time, and they'd share stories, they'd cook together, they'd play games together, they would go outside on the field and throw a football together. They would share secrets and gossip together as well. They used to like to hang out a lot. One day, Will was at home with his parents, and his father said, "Oh, poor Miss Nancy. She's lost her memory." She's lost her memory, Miss Nancy. What did she lose? Yeah, her memory. Do you still have your memory? What's your name? Okay, good. Okay, let's move on. So Will is a very little boy, and he does not understand this term, this concept of memory, because he's too young. And so he goes and asks his friends to see if his friends can tell him what a memory is. And the first person he goes to is Miss Jordan. Eugen, Miss Jordan loves to play the
Organ.
organ. Good for you. Good for you. And Will went up to Miss Jordan, and Wilfred said, "Miss Jordan, what's a memory?" And Miss Jordan said, Oh, it's something that keeps you warm, my boy. Something that keeps you warm. Something that keeps you warm? Will thought, I don't understand that. So he went and found his other friends and to ask them what a memory is. The next person he called on was Mr. Hosking. Mr. Hosking. Mr. Hosking. And he asked Mr. Hosking, Mr. Hosking, what's a memory? And Mr. Hosking said, it's something that makes you laugh. Something that makes you laugh. Ha 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 ha. Still not so understanding this concept of memory. So Will, he goes up to his next friend, Mr. Tippett. Remember the sport he likes to play, Saya? He likes to play?
Cricket.
Cricket, yeah. Do you like cricket?
I never tried, but
Never try, don't try, okay? It's
Yeah.
super boring game. Unless you're British. If you're British, you love cricket. The British love it. Anyways, that's a different story. So he went up to Mr. Tippett and he said, Mr. Tippett, what's a memory? And Mr. Tippett said, it's something that makes you cry, my boy. Something that makes you cry. Will still does not understand this idea of memory. So he approaches Miss Mitchell. Remember Miss Mitchell? She has a bad, Lily, she has a bad back. And she needs a wooden stick, right? And Will asked Miss Mitchell, Miss Mitchell, what's a memory? And Miss Mitchell said, something from a long time ago, my boy. Something from a long time ago. Will still is not so clear what a memory is, so he approaches Mr. Hosking. Remember Mr. Hosking? Mr. Drysdale, sorry. He approached Mr. Drysdale, and he asked Mr. Drysdale, Mr. Drysdale, what's a memory? And Mr. Drysdale said, something as precious as gold. Do you like gold? Yes, of course you do. Something as precious as gold. So Will is starting to understand now what memory means. And so he goes back home and he looks for real objects that he thinks might help bring back Miss Nancy's memory. And he finds a box. And into the box, the first thing he put into the box was a fresh egg. He put that fresh egg into the box because Will and Nancy used to make eggs and bacon on Saturday morning in the kitchen together. The next thing he put into the box were some shells from a beach. And he put the shells into the box because he hoped it would remind Miss Nancy of the times that they would go to the beach and collect shells together. The next thing he put into the box was this puppet on a string. And he put the puppet on a string into the box. And he hoped it would remind Miss Nancy of the fun times they used to have playing with the puppet on the string. The next thing he put into the box was a medal of honor. A medal which was given to him by Miss Nancy. It was her grandfather's medal, a medal that he won in the war. And finally, the last thing he put into the box was a football. He put the football in the box because he hoped it would help Miss Nancy remember the times they would play soccer and football and games outside on the grass in the summertime. He took his box and he went over, sat down next to Miss Nancy, And one by one, Miss Nancy started to take out these objects. The first thing Miss Nancy took out was the egg. And Miss Nancy looked at the egg, and she suddenly remembered all of the times that they used to cook eggs and bacon in the kitchen on Saturday morning. And a little smile came to her face. She put the egg back down. The next thing she took out were the shells from the beach, and she put them next to her ear. And she could suddenly hear the fun and joy that they used to have at the beach together in the summertime. She put the shells down, and the next thing she took out of the box was the medal. And she looked carefully at the Medal of Honor, and she was suddenly reminded of her grandfather who went to war, but never came back. She put the medal back down. And the next thing she took out was the puppet on the strings. And a big smile came to her face as she remembered playing with the puppet on the strings. And finally, the last thing she took out of the box was the football. And she clearly remembered playing football with Will in the summertime on the grass outside of the nursery home. And so Miss Nancy's memory had returned. All because of a little boy who was no more than 5. The end. So I've just finished reading Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge. There are how many main characters in the story, Eugene? 2. His name is? Her name is? Good job. The story takes place where? Lily? Nursing home, yeah. Well done. Okay. And the story is about the relationship about these two people, but it's more than that. It's about how a young boy managed to get back her memory by showing her lots of objects that they had used and played with together. That's the end of my story. Thank you.